Well, good morning, everyone. Today is August the 5th. My name is Mighty Stream. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our Hood Recovery Services. I'm going to be doing your Just for Today in a meditation. If you would like to reach out to me, please do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and get into the meditation. Today, for some reason, I want to start with a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Let's do that now. Moment of silence. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, let's get into the meditation. Just for today, August 5th, the shape of our thoughts. By shaping our thoughts with spiritual ideals, we are freed to become who we want to be. Basic text, page 105. Addiction shaped our thoughts in its own way. Whatever their shape may once have been, they became misshapen once our disease took full sway over our lives. Our obsession with drugs and self-molded our moods, our actions, and the very shape of our lives. I want to repeat that. Our obsession with drugs and self molded our moods, our actions, and the very shape of our lives. Each of the spiritual ideals of our program serves to straighten out one or another of the kinks in our thinking that developed in our active addiction. Denial is counteracted by admission, secretiveness by honesty, isolation by fellowship, and despair by faith in a loving higher power. The spiritual ideals we find in recovery are restoring the shape of our thoughts and our lives to their natural condition. And what is that natural condition? It is the condition we truly seek for ourselves, a reflection of our highest dreams. How do we know this? Because our thoughts are being shaped in recovery by the spiritual ideals we find in our developing relationship with the God we've come to understand in NA. No longer does addiction shape our thoughts. Today, our lives are being shaped by our recovery and our higher power. Just for today, I will allow spiritual ideals to shape my thoughts. In that design, I will find the shape of my own higher power. I like that. I like the feeling that nothing is a completed project, that we're not completed, that we have the ability to reshape ourselves, to reinvent ourselves, to be more authentic and genuine about who we truly are. And that's really where the freedom comes in. And the freedom that we're seeking is to be able to love and be loved, to experience joy because we're just joyful, not because of any particular event, but because it's who we are, that we're joyful individuals. But I have found having, periods of depression and dealing with that sort of mental illness that kind of comes in when I'm self-doubting or I feel rejected. What I have found is that it's very important for me to understand that there are some things that are final. Death is pretty final, right? But there's nothing about what I'm trying to attain or endeavoring to do that is a final finished project. And if I'm consciously aware of the fact that I have a higher power, God, who loves me and cares for me, I find that even when I'm in my darkest moments, even when I'm not feeling up to speed or I feel less than, I still am able to focus on God. I'm still able to focus on my higher power and the fact that I believe that God cares for me, and I believe that God wants the best for me, and I believe that this too shall pass. There's nothing I'm going through that is final. The very fact that I'm passing through and can say I'm passing through is an indication that there's more on the other side of this event. There's more on the other side of this situation. And if I truly am powerless over people, places, and things, and the only thing I truly have power over, like I told you, children that I'm raising, but truly the thing that I do have power over is myself. And so kind of I've trained myself when the going gets rough and the tough has to get going. I've trained myself to look outwardly and to look upwardly to my God, right? That this that I'm passing through, there's more on that other side. And I got my eye on that. Not necessarily, yeah, I'm gonna get the lesson. Hopefully I'm gonna get the lesson, right? Of whatever I'm passing through. But I keep in mind that I may be in this shape right now, but I'm going to be reshaped, right? Because I have spiritual principles today that I apply. Have you ever, I apply them to my life and I apply them to my circumstances, right? So even like I said, when I'm in my darkest moments, I'm still able to see the light. It's gonna be a very sad day if I'm not able to see the light, right? If I don't get a glimpse of hope in my life, it's going to be a very sad day because I may not make it out of that if I do not remain hopeful, inspired, and feeling affirmed that God loves me. Now, they told me when you cannot see God, you need to trust God. And I believe that I have developed this sense of trust, which is a spiritual principle, that God is going to allow me to come out on the other side better than the way that I went into it. Because I have the true will of God on my life, right? I'm talking 11-step stuff now. The true will of God on my life impacts other people. And to impact other people, you generally speaking need to be very authentic so that they sense that you care. So I know a lot of times the stuff I'm passing through, I got to get that lesson because it's going to increase or intensify the ability or the level at which I'm able to help others. So a lot of times I'm holding on and it may not even necessarily be about me. I'm holding on because I know that somebody else is going to be impacted by this experience, by my strength and my hope. And I want to be faithful, another spiritual principle, to that true will of God over my life. Okay? So as you go through things, you got to remember that your natural condition, the you that you are meant to be, is constantly being reshaped so that you can get to that natural condition. The you that reflects your highest dreams, the you that is operating at your highest capacity of success, the you, right, that you were born to be. I had many glimpses of who I was going to be as a child. I can remember conducting like a little class in my garage at like I was in kindergarten or first grade. I was very young when I started doing that. And I can remember making tables out of pieces of wood and bricks so that people could sit down and listen, not tables, but like benches, right? So I knew at a young age that there was this part of me that was going to be teaching and instructing. I've never lost sight of that. And so passing through drug addiction the disease of addiction and getting sidetracked. And I truly believe that my disease of addiction was the catalyst to that was rejection and abuse, right? As a child, I believe that the things that I experienced with my siblings, the things that I experienced with perpetrators, I believe that set me up to long for others to affirm me in a way that they, on such a deep level, that they could not possibly ever meet that expectation. So I was set up for failure from the jump. And the using afforded me to quiet that dis-ease within. It afforded me to make it settle down and not to be too anxious about the fact that I felt abandoned and rejected or needy and my needs weren't being met. And so today I have switched from the lower destructive power to my higher power. I've switched gods because that used to control me, but it doesn't control me today. Do I still sometimes feel rejected by people? Absolutely, but I wouldn't give a flip about whether or not they show it or don't show it, because whether or not they show it or don't show it is not going to stop me from pursuing what I feel that I was born into the world to do. And you got to get that about yourself. You don't have to be arrogant about it, right? You could be God confident about it, or you can just be confident about it. You don't have to be arrogant about the fact that you have direction in your life today. You should celebrate that. And you want to be around people that will celebrate that with you. Because those people that can't celebrate you, right? Now, I'm not saying they need to co-sign your BS, but if you're really on something positive, people should be able to celebrate you. And you should embrace those individuals that give you that good, loving feeling of, go get it. Look at you, girl. Come on, man. I see you, right? That is what the type of energy you need to embrace. But remember, it's coming from people that are followable. So we don't want to be dependent upon it, ever. We don't ever want to be dependent upon it, but we need to recognize that we do better when we're grouped with a community or a network of individuals that flow, for the most part, in positive energy. And so as you allow the spiritual principles to reshape your thoughts, you're going to find that now you're starting to think about other things outside of your sphere. You're starting to think about, how can I use my gifts and my talents, my attributes, my assets to profit others, to benefit others, to serve others, right? And that's what you want. So today, I hope that you will focus on the positives about yourself and how you can use those to be a catalyst to get you further down the road into what you believe your highest dreams are. I once heard that we don't serve the world by being small, right? We serve the world by being our best selves, right? Being mediocre is we have mediocre people everywhere we go. We have dispassionate people everywhere we go. I can look out in my community and I see the people that are running these agencies, these 501c3s, these businesses. These are the people that care enough about community to actually put their reputation on the line and get out there and do something different. But also at the same token, many people are pulling away from what they once believed was their call or their purpose in life because they're discouraged about finances or whatever. There's nothing, I won't say there's nothing money can't buy. Money can buy a lot of things, but money is not going to give you happiness in the sense of feeling fulfilled. a satisfying, content feeling that you've done what you were supposed to do, right? Money might be able to help you pay other people to do some of those things that would allow you to actually focus. You know, I'm thinking about hiring someone to come in and just do the basic cleaning, a cleaning lady, so that when I am in my home, I'm not consumed with that small bit of time I have for my family. I'm not consumed with either them or chores, right? And so that would help me become a better individual because that would take away the burden of my OCD, right? And so I just want you to be thinking about that. What are 5 things that you claim or believe that you are called to do in life? What are these 5 things? And then for every item that you list, I want you to write one goal that's going to get you closer to that. And then I want you to, after you start listing the one goal that you have to get you closer to what you believe you're supposed to do in life, those 5 things, I want you to write what is stopping you. It could just be mental health. You could just be depressed. Right? I remember I went through a very bad phase when I realized that I had this anxiety disorder that was shaping my ability to socialize with people or not. And I remember sitting with my stepfather, Pops, and him saying to me, "Girl, you got to get out of that bed. You need to get out of that room." And so I would come out and I would sit with him while I was reading his paper, his book, and drinking coffee. And we would walk down to my sister's house and we would talk and eat things and have lunch. And, you know, so she was kind of like the person that I embraced as someone to socialize with. But one day he said to me, "You know what you need to do?" And I was like, "What?" He said, "You need to get out there and find some place to volunteer. Find some place that needs some help and start volunteering. It'll do you a world of good. My little girl that I know loves to help people. You need to volunteer." And I went and found a place that I can volunteer. And it seems like I volunteered for a lot of years with different places. And I'm just now getting to the point where I'm breaking away from giving so much of my time for free because now I'm believing in myself and I see that I have a lot of assets and I have a lot of education and a lot of degrees. And I see that I have the potential to do more and to be better than I am. Right. And so that little suggestion blessed me. Maybe that's you. Maybe you are doing all this busy stuff, but none of it is what you really think your highest dreams are. Maybe you need to get in the mix of people that are doing the type of things that you say you're called to do. You know, and I challenge you to find some place that you can give a couple hours a week to start increasing your confidence in yourself, right? A lot of times when you're sitting in a place or you're doing volunteer work and you're serving the community and people come to you and you see the destitute circumstance they're under, it can open your heart. It can open your heart to do more because now you see, man, I may not be doing great, but I'm doing better than that. And I have a lot to bring to their table that will make their life or day just a little bit better. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking with you, and I hope that you've enjoyed this Just for Today in a meditation. And I will be talking to you tomorrow.